Hello and welcome to One on One. I'm your host, Carolyn Lewis, Director of the WOUB Center for Public Media. Today we're talking with Dr. Marie Foster Gnage, the President of West Virginia University at Parkersburg. WOUB serves 12 or so West Virginia counties along the Ohio River, including Parkersburg. So thank you for joining me to share your life and work with viewers throughout the southeastern Ohio region.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, tell us about your journey to becoming the president of West Virginia University at Parkersburg.
What a journey it was. Well, started out in Mississippi, where I was born, and went on to Alcorn State University. Well, it was Alcorn State College in that day, and spent 4 years there. Went on to Southwestern Louisiana, finished up a master's there, came back to Alcorn. It was then college, Alcorn A&M College, and spent 2 years teaching there. So I've got the faculty, the beginning of the faculty part of that journey. And spent, after the 2 years there, went on to Tallahassee, got married, the usual thing, to start a family, get my life going, and spent a couple of years just thinking about what I would do next. And did some writing and editing of a vocational journal and did surveys, and that didn't seem to be exactly what I wanted. I really enjoyed teaching, so I figured it was time to, at some point I needed to go back to college and back to the university, finish up the doctorate so that I could work in a university setting, because they did want, whether master's degrees were fine, but a doctorate was even better. So I went back to Florida State University and finished up the doctorate. Did teaching there as a graduate teaching assistant because I wanted the teaching. Again, is in the blood, and I think that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. After I spent that time there teaching and going to school, and I had a child at that point, and it was like overload. And but I didn't want to, at that point, I didn't want to teach full time, because I thought I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it with a child, and married and taking care of family and all that. So I went back to writing and editing again. But I did a paper for senior citizens. I also tracked legislation in that position. And all these things are kind of getting me ready for what I'm about to do. I don't know this, but it helps you as you kind of round out your world, so to speak. You get ready for a lot of things, and I spent 4 years doing that, doing the writing and editing of the newspaper, and then I was a consumer education consultant, and decided at that point, one day I took a flight on a plane with the Commissioner of Agriculture, because he was thinking about adding me to his staff. I figured it was one of those little planes, small planes, and get on this plane, and we were flying to Orlando, Florida, and I will never forget it. The plane started dancing in the sky. By the time we landed, I was real sure that I wanted to go back to teaching again. I did not want to be a staffer that had to fly around in the air. So I went over to Florida A&M University and taught there for 4 years. Met some community college students while I was teaching there, and thought, oh, what a great thing. They must have come from a wonderful place, and because they were mature, they understood where they wanted to be. So life circumstances allowed me at that point in time to go on to a community college to try it out for 2 years, so to speak. And I went to Broward Community College in Fort Lauderdale as department chair, which then started to give me a little bit more administrative experience. As a faculty member, I was coordinator of freshman English, so I was getting my hand in administration at that point, but at the same time I was able to do some teaching. I
was going to ask you, when did you decide that academic administration would be a part of your career path?
Well, I think that the coordination of the freshman English program gave me a little bit of a feel for what one would do in administration, and it still allowed me to stay with the teaching, and I wanted to continue teaching at that point. Well, I did that, the coordination, and it also prepared me for being a department chair, because when I went to do the interviews, I could say, well, I've had a little bit of administrative experience, not much. Well, I was going to spend 2 years there, and but I got nominated for the American Council on Education Fellows Program. And if you accept the nomination for that program, you have to promise that you'll come back to the institution for a year. Well, I went off on that program, had an absolutely wonderful time, went to 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges, universities all over the nation.
This is over the course of the year?
This is over the course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to be shadowing a president at that point. And I did that. And I saw in all the educational institutions that I was attending, exploring, researching, that I really did enjoy what was happening either at the 2-year college or at historically black colleges and universities, because they were open access and they allowed students, who needed the opportunity.